Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. Um, Last time I went and I built a fighter and rid myself of a threat. Uh, this episode I actually spent quite a bit of time since the last one. You could say it even feels like I spent months since the last episode. Um, just just trying to wait out sumo mining for a bit and to go and gather some resources that I realized that I was going to need for the next episode. Basically what I want to do is build a mining ship. No, not this one. The 3D printer was cool and useful, but it's not Space Invaders is a game about building things, and that's sort of bypassing it. If I wasn't under pressure, I probably would have built uh, the might or like an equivalent ship by itself, but I didn't do that. From now on, I think most of my designs are going to, at least most of the designs meant to be piloted by me, are going to be built from scratch the first time. Things like mining drones, though, I will still have standardized designs that I'll use everywhere, just because this design, for example, would be perfect for carving out a hole, like carving out a base. So that's why I'm going to build that. It's also going to be perfect for gathering ice, but that's not for this episode. That's going to happen sometime next episode, or maybe in between episodes, or maybe it will be during this episode, but it's just going to be in a background thing. So yeah, so things that have changed significantly since the last time. Sumo's been updated back to its original configuration. It looks a lot better. I also configured Sumo for radio communication, so now I have a way to monitor it and send commands. As you can see, it literally was just flying to its job area, and it's finishing up on that hole. Pretty soon it'll be finished, and probably before the end of this episode, actually, I will have the beginnings of what I hope to be the start of a bunker base. But for now, I'm not super concerned about that. That's what the second mining drone is for. The second mining drone is going to come in and drill out a hole in the ice just above the stone, and it's going to burrow in a bit, and I'm going to use that for a base. Or maybe I will just focus directly on the stone, just so that I can have the mining drones over the top of where the base is supposed to be, and then carve out sections of the base and convert it into power, which would be pretty cool. Let me just take a ride back. Yeah, this is so cool. But yeah, I do have plans to make my own mining drone script and everything. For now, this isn't the time. I'll be doing that later. I actually, I have had a hiatus for quite a while. I haven't programmed or coded anything either. So, it's just going to be a lot of... it'll be just a lot of stuff I need to get reacquainted with. That's really all it is. I'm just gonna let Sumo dock again. Yep. So yeah, among other things, I had also added some situational lighting and a spotlight to this thing, and I also went out and grabbed nickel. Actually, one of the things that happened because of that was that I found this silver and gold deposit over there. And so this is a pretty power efficient way to gather material, but it's also extremely dangerous. And why am I lagging? That often happens when things spawn. Let's hope it doesn't do that again. That's kind of worrying. Also, yeah, I've been getting some stutter in this game, but it's been really infrequent, so I'm actually surprised to get this much stutter during a recording. But yeah, if I see any... Oh, that's it. You see that. Whatever that is, it's something that has no signal. If I were to approach that, I might get attacked. And if I get attacked, well, then I know I'm not completely safe, but it's not something I can directly fight against, so... Yeah, if I start to see a signal, what I'll do is I'll run towards this turret. Otherwise, I'm not too worried. Other things... Well, not really, there isn't any other thing. The goal for today, and this episode anyway, is building a mining ship. And that is not a pre-made blueprint. However, I will still be building this at some point, it's just I don't need it right now, and I feel like it would be fun. So, I think... Okay. There are a few ways I could go about this. The first way I could think of is if I just grab a bunch of steel plates and just build off of the projector welder block. The reason why I think this would be the best way to do it is simply because it already exists to have a separate grid. So what I can do is I can build off of this and be able to have an immediate power connection and everything. And it should be able to work. I do not plan on using hydrogen. If I do use any hydrogen, it's going to be it wouldn't even be that hard to fuel it because I could just step in here and grab ice in mass. So yeah. Also, I just realized something. Since I am going to be eventually building this drone, I should probably extend this arm out so that I can actually start construction sooner rather than later. So I'm going to do that, but we're going to ignore for now because I have a limited number of motors. So yeah. So what am I going to want for this thing? Maybe first things first, I should make some catwalks because I want to have a bit of an overhead so that I can sort of build on a level that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build like this and then put the connector. Not the conveyor sorter. There's a connector. And we'll have a connector facing out the back. Now, actually, I think I'm going to say no to that. This one has a connector out of the back. And I guess that makes sense. I don't know. Do I want a connector out of the back, or do I want a connector that goes straight up and down? Because straight up and down is actually more ideal if you want to dock things on platforms, and I'm going to be building stuff under an underground base. I might wind up making the top of the base just be sort of like a hangar area that's just open space with some docks pointing upwards. And if I do that, I'm going to want to have actual hangar space. So yeah. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to build something similar to something I have built in the past. There might actually be a reason for me to build something using the hydrogen engines. Because I'm pretty certain there are small hydrogen tanks now. So we have oxygen tank, we have hydrogen tank, and then we also have small hydrogen tank. It's a bit of a shame that they don't have anything bigger than that, but oh well. You could use this in combination with the hydrogen engine in order to keep things powered. I think it's 2 oxygen generators per engine though, but if I make it so that the oxygen generator and hydrogen engines, I don't know. I'll just have to keep in mind with how I design it, how that's going to go. So I might have to gather a little bit of ice. But let's do something. So how do I want to start this? So let's just start with the cargo container. I'm actually going to extend this out as much as I can, because I just don't want it anywhere near it, and I want to be able to extend it backwards. And yeah, so let's start with this. And then I can add the cargo containers. Now, I am building this blind, so I have no real clue if I am doing this correctly at all. So what I can do is this, and then what I want is the oxygen generator here, because I think that makes sense, and then the cockpit. So I'm going to want an oxygen generator, and let's just go with a classic cockpit for this, because I could go with the fighter or the industrial cockpit. The industrial cockpit has a bit of an aesthetic to it, but the regular cockpit's just better. Thinking about it though, if I do this, the drills are going to be mounted awkwardly. So what I might do instead is something else. Have the fighter cockpit, have it like mounted up here or something, so I could use the fighter cockpit, which would give it a bit of extra length. And then on the underside, I can actually mount the oxygen generator there, and there'd actually be a space for it. I don't know. It's like, I could do this, but maybe it would be better if I move the cockpit down by 1 block. So if I mount this just slightly lower, that gives me a little bit better view of what I'm doing. So I could do it like that. In addition, I could actually move these, the ones not directly attached to the nose, back by 1. But having them be a little lower actually makes things a little easier, because then I can have all the landing and docking stuff underneath. And then this is also directly connected through to this, which it wasn't before, and I neglected to notice. So I think I'll go with that. We're going to add in our connector. I think the connector goes here, so that's nice and centrally located. Then I probably want my large atmospheric thrusters to be mounted like probably like this on either side. And I'm going to need more than just this, because this design has one of those and it could barely fly. If I were to stick my head in, yeah, there's that large cargo container. It only has one of them and a medium one, and it needs 2 large grid thrusters, and then for this smaller one it needed an extra like 4 regular sized ones. So this is probably going to take anywhere between 3 or 4 of these. I may very well choose to get rid of this last thruster and this last docking port. And yeah, I'm actually going to do that now. Okay. I think if I do 3 of these large grid thrusters, that should actually be enough upwards thrust. So now I should be able to keep a level. And just for, I don't know, just for like balance sake, I'm going to also like give it a pair of thrusters up here. Actually no, they'll go here. And that's just to help make it actually look like it can fly and balance itself. But I don't know. Most of the weight's going to be centered near the back anyway, and this doesn't actually matter for that game, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Guess maybe I just like things to appear balanced. So yeah. So now that I have that set up, if you look at this design, which I have the copy over here, You can't quite visibly see it. It has 2 of these and then several smaller ones. This is going to have more power draw, so I'm going to need at least 3 or 4 of these batteries. And I won't worry about the small grid batteries except to make up for any extra costs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out I have exactly the space I need, and then I'm just going to slap these on. I did not have to rotate them. I don't know. I'm going to weld this up and experiment with moving things around, and I'll be back once I've decided, once I've built a little more of this, or planned out a bit more. So I'll see you then. Okay. That should be all the upward thrust. So now I think I've got this all welded up. Good, good, good. So now it's just time for a simple static fire test. No clue if that's enough thrust, honestly. Maybe one of the things I should do is create a system where I can attach this to some sort of umbilical that is floppy. And be able, like maybe like a chain of rotors or something, so that I can test stuff like lift while it's still attached to the base. I don't know. But I feel like that would be too messy to even manage in the first place. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a thing here, and I guess I should just build this on camera. Do I have... No, I do not seem to have the stuff. Oh, I accidentally skipped a thing. So what I'm thinking of right now is I should have a sorter here. I could put a sorter here and then have a bunch of small conveyors, maybe 5 or 6 of them, and then off of the edges of those I have the ejectors. I want to mount them sideways-ish. Now there's a reason why you shouldn't do this. I'm just ignoring it for now. I'm going to see if I have any problems. If I do, I'll re-engineer this. Problems can include things blowing up, so I better make sure to include some armor in this design, otherwise it'll just come apart, if and when that happens. So yeah. It's right at the bottom, isn't it? There it is. Add that to the whitelist, and then it's drain all. I actually don't need to worry about drain all. That might just cause stuff to... Instead of drain all, we're just gonna do this. And then ejectors. All of these are throw out. So all 6 of these ejectors should just throw out stun. And I can do a quick test of that. If I just... You're actually done, aren't you? Yes! Ha! So that's good. So what this means is I can do a little bit of a test. And so we're going to be drilling in this area anyway. Let's just do a little bit of that. Just a tiny bit. And let's just gather the bits of stone and ice. That's also going to pressurize the cockpit and everything. So let's just make sure everything works. So I have some stone in here. And what's going on? So these things should be set to collect all. Okay, sorry. There we go. So now that's all the stone just gets ejected when I place it in. Okay. And then just to double check, if I turn off the thing, so if I just turn this off and I place a stone, yes, good. Also, apparently I placed a bunch of components that I wasn't supposed to place. So I'm just gonna say, take all these back. Wish there was like a quick access to just pull all the inventory. It's like withdraw for build planner, but why isn't there like a just simple deposit withdraw system? I don't know. So yeah, okay. So I have all this, and I have upwards thrust, I think. But now I need sideways thrust. I also need gyroscopes. I have to always remind myself that gyroscopes exist. Now that I have to add the gyroscopes, and I also want reverse thrust, and I'm thinking I can use this space under the cockpit actually for reverse thrust. I can have 2. I could probably have 4 of them mounted just straight on the underside there without any problems, so let's just go ahead and do that. I mean, the cool thing about like the drills is that you can just absolutely place thrusters in the corners of the drills and they don't take damage. I've taken advantage of it in this drone's design before, actually, because if you look carefully, the reverse thrust is actually like between the drills themselves, and that keeps the thrusters from actually ever clipping or hurting anything. So I put my reverse thrust there, that should be fine. I'm thinking if we do something like this, and let's just make this a permanent thing now. Why not? We can do like this. I need steel plate. Okay. When I start to make a large grid stuff, that's going to become quite expensive. So we can just do reverse thrust, forward thrust like this, reverse thrust like that. So that's 2 axes. I need at least 5 to be able to fly. And I'm thinking, if I did this, it would certainly seem compelling. What I kind of want to do instead though is something more like, ooh, I got an idea. Yeah, let's do this. Keep it out of the way. If I mount my thrusters like this, then there's no way they could actually be like, they'd protrude out. And then I can start building these thrusters. So that's thrust in all directions. Now for gyroscopes, I'm likely going to add in other things. But for now, let's not worry about it. Also, hydrogen engines. I did say that I want to add a couple hydrogen engines, right? Or at least one? Hydrogen engines can be put on the drills themselves. So I could just mount hydrogen engines sort of like this on either side of the cockpit. Alternatively, I could move them. Yeah, let's just see. That'll obscure my vision just a little, but then that shouldn't be too bad. I can then mount lights directly on the hydrogen engines and it shouldn't look that bad. I could probably also, actually looking at it, this gives me a good visual reference to where I can put LCDs. So as you can see, the backs of each of these has a space in it. I could actually just straight up put displays on those, and they'd be in an out of the way area. It would be somewhere where I wouldn't necessarily need to be looking. So yeah, so let's just go and do this. I'll see you once I have these thrusters welded. thrusters are finished. I think I'm going to go straight to also building these and all of the batteries. It seems... I feel like I'm okay with the placement of things. It's going to have like a little bit of like a fishtail kind of thing, I think. Because of the placement of those batteries, I actually can't move things much. I might wind up moving those 4 thrusters anyway. Just thinking. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry, thrusters. I'm just gonna say no to you. You can fall as debris, and I will just move you later. I want to have like I want it thinner at the back. I want it to actually have some level of aesthetics, and this actually has the exact amount of space that I need. So basically, the front of the ship's now looking like this. Most of the equipment on this is going to be exposed, but I'm going to have some armor and detailing. Minimal armor and detailing, but it should be enough to like hold it together if it takes an impact, and it should be enough to like allow me to take bumps on the corners and things. And yeah, so this thing, I'm actually kind of satisfied with how it's turning out. We're going to do this. I'm going to mount these 4 thrusters like that. I want to see. Yeah, and then it. Yeah, that's about right. I want them to be clustered together, just because it makes sense. And I'm just gonna place those back. Anyway, now I can have a little bit of a fishtail on it, so it's not like a super ridiculous thing. I'm also thinking of doing a similar thing with this battery actually. I want to change its orientation. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mount these batteries, but this time the indicator is on the outside, and I'm going to mount them lower than that. That way they are more prominent in the structure of the design, and it's not as stagnant looking. And I'm just gonna put in all the extra bits. I'm likely going to add a couple small hydrogen tanks just sort of as reserve fuel for this thing. Just because it makes sense to. These engines have no axes, right? Yeah. So where would I even place one of those? I don't know. I also need to think about where I want my landing gear. Maybe I can have... I want to have at least one landing gear, and it might just come off the nose, because I can't see a better place for it. Or I could not have a landing gear and just kind of land by dropping. But I don't know if I like that. Because I also need to consider stuff like this. Because if I mount a landing gear here, that's actually too low. I need it to be a block down. I could put landing gear on either side of this. I could also have a landing gear oriented like this. I guess I could just put the landing gear to either side of the connector. That could work too. And I got the final battery in. Now it's just the thruster. Now it's just these landing gear, and I'm all set. I have places. I'm going to add a couple hydrogen tanks to this for the engines, just because I also know if I put ice in this, I'm going to want a pair of small hydrogen tanks. I'm thinking, let's just do this. Actually, perfect placement too, because there isn't anywhere else I could put them. Anywhere else, then they'd be disruptive. Like if I put it here, for example, what would happen is it would stick out and bump into anything that I was mining. Don't want that. And now, if I were to guess, yeah, it is filling up slowly, but this oxygen tank should be like running out of ice. That's fine. I'm just gonna load this with some ice just for the sake of it. Okay, and that should allow these small tanks to fill up. And they should get up to their full fill, and that should also mean the hydrogen engines. I'm just gonna tug them on. And these should actually be losing. Oh yeah. They'll run out. But the point was just to get them to fill a little. So I guess like that's just not going to work super well. Say this cockpit view actually looks really cool. So I've succeeded. Fortunately I don't get to see my power indicators, but I can just place a couple transparent LCDs just fine to get my indicators. Or even like have stuff project out the side and basically have like displays to either side, so that I can barely see that. Having like a display here and a display there would actually show up in my cockpit. Alternatively, I could just put that information in those two panels down there, which might even be a better solution. I suppose it is time. I think it's time. If I do something like this, that I can make another upwards facing dock. That isn't used by the thing. And then I can do all the armoring and everything, but I just want a test flight. Test flight of the initial prototype. I want to see this thing maneuver around. I want to try gathering something. Could gather some ice with it, maybe. I have far too much ice as it is, but maybe it's not that bad of a thing. Is there a resource that I really desperately need to get my hands on? Oh, looks like we've... That's actually good. We could use... We could use cobalt, actually. We're low on cobalt. Where do I have cobalt? Magnesium? Yeah, there's cobalt 2.5 clicks out. And we also have cobalt in here, however, I'm not going for that just yet. Do I have any nodes that are cobalt? Nope. Battery. 2 full batteries, and then I have one more. One more needs to be full. Come on. 3, 2, 1, 0. I didn't even guess it. I'm not going to edit that, that would be stupid. There we go. That's updated. And according to this, hydrogen tanks are actually full. Which means that now if I were to run the hydrogen engines, yeah. Please don't drop. Yes! And as you can tell by that sound effect, this grid actually refreshed, which means that it's now a separate grid. I could have named this and it would have stuck with this vehicle. That's what it means. I'm just going to call this the... I'm just going to call this the minor prototype. It's just a minor improvement over the last one. Let's see. So power balance seems reasonable. And I have a large amount of thrust. Now the biggest test I would have for this is needing gyros. I forgot about gyros. Okay. I always do this. Let me just lower. 3, 2. Now I'm locked to the ground, so it's not going to waste any power at least. I'm going to put these gyros right here. And I think that I'm more or less done with the prototype. I'm going to have to add to armoring and everything. I'm going to have to give it lights. But for now, though, let's just do some configuration. I'm letting the engines run to try to recharge the batteries and also test the engines. It seems like it's just a few seconds of power. I probably ran out of ice too. Why do I have so many of these? Nope, ice is still going strong. So this is just the hydrogen engines just burn 4 times as much as they produce. But that's good enough for getting like a temporary boost of power. Yeah. So this thing's running, and then the batteries, am I actually producing enough now to keep the batteries fully recharged in 60 seconds? Okay, so it is still recharging, it's just going to take a lot longer. And I can actually help things along by simply grabbing a bunch of ice and depositing it into the inventory. So, I think this is already looking to be very promising. So now, I just have to do some configuration stuff. There we go, getting the lights built in. This should provide me with enough light to be able to see what I'm doing. So we do this, and we do this. And there we go. And then what I can do is I can just start shaping armor along here while I wait. But for now, again, no point in doing that. Got our prototype here. Look at that thing. That's gotta look so cool. So now what I want to do is disable auto lock and actually fly around a bit. Get a sense for how this thing feels to handle. It's not super maneuverable. That's fine. One thing I might do actually is try to add extra reverse thrust where it's possible. Currently what I have, so I could do something like have an extra pair. Because the thing is, if I lean forward, there's going to be a point where I start sliding, and that's going to get worse with the more ore I'm carrying. So one of the things that I'm thinking of doing is actually trying to get full of stone. And so I'm going to make sure that's off, and we did need cobalt, right? So let's just head straight there and gather some cobalt. I just realized something. I don't have an ore detector. What am I doing? Okay, let's just do this and do another thing. I need to add ore detector and antenna now. I'm just a derp, apparently. One thing that I could definitely do is this, and then get the ore detector too. Okay, I added the ore detector and antenna on there. And now I'm back to trying to mine some cobalt. Because again, we're super low on cobalt. And it would actually be pretty nice. I'm gonna set this to normal display. And I'm going to actually prune my visible list of stuff soon, because I think this is overwhelming. I need to only have GPS markers that I need on. For now, I'm not going to touch it, just this episode. In between episodes, I'll go and I'll prune it, because... Or maybe I'm in between cuts. But, yeah, so I'm getting ice. Am I getting cobalt? Yes, I am. But there we go. Right, and I did want to test stuff. So before I go and actually mine in... Tell me, where's cobalt? There's cobalt. I think I kind of want to be level with it. I'm thinking cobalt's like this, so let's just do this. Do a right-click mine, and then just go straight until I see the cobalt. It seems I have a bit of extra acceleration. And then I'm not going to eject anything, I'm just going to go with a full load, including stone. Just to see what happens. That'll be 2 large cargo containers. Now this is just the super dense ice. Oh, that's iron. I guess I have to do regular mining for a bit. Why am I getting iron? I'm trying to get cobalt, and I'm getting iron. Like, that's not how it should be. I'm trying to get some iron, some cobalt. And I have to keep checking my inventory because I'm realizing... Yeah, not even close to being... Oh, I'm starting to fill. I really need the cobalt though, so... I'm just going to mine through it. Sorry, this really bothers me, but I think it bothers a part of me that really I shouldn't be too worried about. So let's just keep mining for a bit, get everything filled up. Cobalt. We are getting cobalt. I want to fill this cargo container. I wasn't intending this to be like a 5-degree angle, but it's fine. And I can actually just go straight in, which is important. And then I just want to check the drills. Now I'm starting to fill up the drills, so... Yep. Then I'm just gonna tab out. And feels as though I'd say that was a successful test. I think I'm satisfied with this prototype. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. So, I have an uplift. I have more than an uplift. I can accelerate. It appears at 1 meter a second. So, that's barely acceptable. And it works. Works really well. So, okay. Now that I've done this, I'm likely going to drop all this off and then begin construction of the automated drone in the next episode. I may as well start that on camera just in case things happen. Otherwise, I'm not too concerned. I just have to be super careful about my acceleration and the upwards vector when headed here. I'm going to preview this thing up between episodes, and I'm going to give it the scripts that I want. So by the time you see the next episode, it'll be sort of like what happened with Sumo. I'm just gonna do with this. And I'm going to dock at this space that I've created. It's just for my thing. I gotta remember to actually turn my brakes off. That was stupid. Let's also adjust my angle. Try not to move too fast. It's actually gotta move kind of slow. Go. Get the angle right. Come on. Here we go. Now we're locked. Batteries can recharge. I'm actually going to turn those on. And, yeah. I'm happy. Now that this is all filled, I'm just going to close that off and say, I guess this is the end of the video. Okay. Ow. So there are some things that I'm kind of interested in doing. So Sumo's finished its job for quite a while now. It was actually worthwhile for me to wait through that. So we have this space to work with. Now my plan is to put an entrance on top of this and have that be like a hangar bay, and then have like a base drilled out. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building that other drone that you saw, and that's going to be this area over here. I'm going to order it to drill out a hole in that area, and then I'm going to start building my base in the resulting hole. I'm going to have it scoop out like 2 exacting dimensions, And the idea is that I want to slowly move my base inside of that. And that means I'm going to have to transition off of these rotors and stuff. But odds are, for a while at least, that I'm going to have like batteries and stuff, and I'm just going to merge lock them on to charge and demerge them, and then like do like battery exchanges. And that's sort of the idea. And so I feel like maybe also building some sort of forklift style vehicle would actually be useful for that. Also, yeah, ignore the SSRB. It's not going to hurt me. It's just not. I've had these things fly overhead so many times now, it's like I know which ones cause problems, and most of the ones that say SPRT don't hurt you. They're literally just there if I want to loot them. Which might be how I get my first large grid ship, honestly. But yeah. So, I have all that planned. I am going to see you in the next video. See ya and stay safe.